This, have you ever heard of this?
I have, yeah.
Right. It's like this informal, kind of like somber list of all these celebrities, and they all died at the same age
Uh-huh.
at 27.
Yeah.
Makes you think, right?
It really does, yeah. So much potential just gone like that young. Yeah, it's kind of spooky to think about.
Yeah. It's like, we're talking about like a loose grouping. I mean, it's mostly musicians, but there are actors and artists, people from other
Yeah.
fields too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. All connected by that number.
That one number, 27. And I feel like the whole thing kind of got started, like the spark maybe back between like 1969 and 1971.
Okay, yeah.
Like Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis
Yeah.
Joplin, Jim Morrison, like all these huge names all gone at 27. It's like, wow.
That's a lot of talent lost, right? In a row like that, at the same age too. It's hard not to notice, yeah.
Yeah, it really caught the public's attention. And I feel like it kind of became, part of entertainment folklore.
Totally. That period, it really it resonated. But the thing is, the 27 Club as this big cultural thing, it didn't like really, it didn't solidify until a bit later.
Okay, so that was the setup, right? That initial period. But what would you say was the moment that really made the 27 Club like, stick, like in our minds, in everybody's minds?
For me, it was Kurt Cobain in '94.
Okay. Yeah, right.
His biographer, Charles R. Cross, he kind of points to that as when the 27 Club really went mainstream.
Right. Right. And his mother, I mean, wasn't there something she said?
Yeah, his mom, Wendy Friedenberg Cobain O'Connor, right?
Mm.
She she made a statement to their local paper, the Daily World, and it got picked up by the Associated Press.
Uh,
She said, "Now he's gone and joined that stupid club."
and like everybody, or I mean, a lot of people, that's what they thought she meant, right? Like all these other musicians dying at 27, almost like it's some sort of predetermined tragic thing for rock stars.
That's definitely how Charles Cross and a lot of people who study rock and roll myths
Yeah.
took it. But there might be a different way to see what she meant,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
more personal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's that?
Well, there's this Eric Svigelstad. He wrote this book about the whole thing called The 27s, the greatest myth of rock and roll. And he thinks maybe Wendy Cobain was talking about suicides in their family.
Oh, wow.
Kurt Cobain, he had a couple of uncles who had died by suicide, and even a great uncle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like you think something means one thing, but then there's this whole, other meaning that's maybe even sadder in a way.
Exactly. And some journalists back then, they were also talking about Stephanie Sargent and Andrew Wood, these two musicians from Seattle, and they both died from heroin, from drug issues.
Yeah.
But the thing is, neither of them was 27 when I died.
So even back then, even when Kurt Cobain died, people were trying to figure out what it meant,
Yeah.
trying to put the pieces together. And then you've got Amy Winehouse in 2011 dying at 27. That must have like reignited the whole 27 Club thing for like a whole new group of people.
It did. It was back in the news big time. And the really weird thing is, a few years before she died, in 2008, her assistant, Alex Haynes, he said Amy was actually like scared of dying young and joining the 27 Club of Rock Stars.
Oh, wow.
She even mentioned Morrison, Jones, and Cobain specifically.
That's kind of scary,
It is.
to be aware of that and scared of it. It's like, it just adds to the mystery of it all. But, let's look at the actual data, because I mean, the whole idea of a club, it implies that there's something statistically real about dying at 27, especially for musicians. But is there any proof of that?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question to ask. And the answer is basically no.
Okay.
A lot of people think musicians are more likely to die at 27, but science hasn't really backed that up.
So if the numbers aren't there, where'd we get this idea that 27's so dangerous for musicians?
I mean, like we were saying, those early deaths, they were really high profile, so that had to have had an impact.
Yeah.
But when researchers really looked at the numbers, like in a 2011 study in the British Medical Journal, a well-respected journal, they didn't find an increased risk of death specifically at 27 for musicians.
Yeah.
They actually found like similar small increases at 25 and 32.
So 27 isn't uniquely dangerous for musicians then?
Right. But the study did find, and this is kind of a big deal, young adult musicians, they do die at a higher rate overall compared to, regular young adults.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty worrying. But their main takeaway, the main point they made about the 27 Club, was that, yeah, fame might make it more likely for a musician to die young, but that risk isn't just at 27, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's spread out.
Like all the pressures of being famous, the lifestyle, that makes sense that that could contribute to a higher death rate, just not specifically at 27.
Totally.
Were there any other studies that looked at this, at the statistics?
There was this article in The Conversation in 2014 that had some more numbers, might be interesting to you.
Okay.
They said, statistically, popular musicians are actually most likely to die at 56,
Oh, wow.
with a death rate of about 2.2%, compared to 1.3% at 27.
So if we're going by the stats, maybe we should be talking about like the 56 Club or something.
Right.
But the 27 Club, it has this power,
It does.
Why do you think that is?
Well, there's this really cool idea from some newer research. This study from 2024 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, they talked about the 27 Club effect.
The 27 Club effect. Okay, I'm listening.
What they're saying is that even though there isn't really a spike in deaths at 27, the myth itself has changed how we remember things, culturally. It's made those artists who did die at 27 even more important in a way.
So the more we talk about the 27 Club, the more we remember those deaths.
Yeah, exactly. The study, it says all the storytelling, all the media attention, that's what turns these, maybe random events into this big, long-lasting story.
Wow. It's not just the numbers, it's the story that keeps the 27 Club going.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really insightful way to think about it. It's almost like the legend is more powerful than what actually happened. And speaking of legends, there's another one that's kind of connected to the 27 Club. The white lighter myth. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, the white lighter curse.
Yeah.
It's a big urban legend tied right into the whole 27 Club thing.
For those listening who, haven't heard about it, what is the white lighter myth?
The idea is that a bunch of musicians in the 27 Club died with a white disposable lighter on them.
Uh-huh.
And so people started thinking white lighters were like bad luck, a bad omen,
Yeah. And who are the musicians usually linked to this myth?
Usually it's Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and Kurt Cobain.
Right.
They're all iconic. They all died at 27, and supposedly they all had white lighters.
It's amazing how these little things, become part of a bigger story.
I know.
But is there any truth to the white lighter myth?
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
not really. The Snopes, they're the fact-checking people. They looked into it in 2017 and pretty much debunked the whole thing. Here's the thing. Bic, they make those lighters, right? Well, they didn't start making white disposable lighters until 1973.
Which is after Hendrix, Joplin, and Morrison died.
Exactly.
Mm.
And even though other companies were making disposable lighters before that, white wasn't, a common color back then. So the whole white lighter thing, the timing's just off.
So it's another myth, another layer of myth.
Yeah.
On top of the 27 Club myth. And speaking of, the 27 Club, it's really everywhere in pop culture.
It is, yeah. It comes up all the time.
In music, in games, it's like it's seeped into our collective consciousness.
It definitely has.
In music, I mean, there are tons of examples, right? Like Fall Out Boy has a song actually called 27. And the lyrics, they're all about, that rock and roll lifestyle, that fast life, maybe even self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Wentz even talked about how he felt like he was, kind of playing with that edge.
Yeah. And there's John Craigie's song 28, it's really powerful. He imagines what it would have been like if Morrison, Joplin, and Cobain had made it to 28.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Craigie wrote that song when he was 27 himself.
Wow. There's Eric Burdon's song 27 Forever, too. And even a whole album, right, by Magenta called The 27 Club. Each song on that album is about a different artist associated with the club.
Wow.
And it's not just whole songs or albums. Halsey, in her song Colors, she's got that line, I hope you make it to the day you're 28 years old.
Yeah.
Like acknowledging the club. And Frayne Ocean in Nights, he mentions both the club and the White Lighters.
Yeah.
It's like he's referencing this whole mythology around it. And, JPEG Mafia, he has a song simply titled The 27 Club. And in that song, he actually name drops Hendrix, Joplin, and Cobain.
It's become this symbol, for a certain kind of artistic life, brilliant but cut short.
And Adore Delano, she also has a song called 27 Club. And there's this one line, she says, all of the legends die at 27. And she was actually 27 when that album came out.
That's spooky.
It is. It's like, the 27 Club continues to be relevant to artists today. Juice World and Legends talks about it, although he kind of puts a modern spin on it, saying, "What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21."
Hmm.
And Nessa Barrett in La Dee Die, she sings, "I'll be dead at 27, only 9 more years to go."
Well,
So it's still a thing.
it's definitely still out there, yeah.
It's not just music either. There's a whole mission in the video game Hitman from 2016 called Club 27, which is a pretty direct reference.
Yeah.
And then there have been exhibits and books and films and even plays about the 27 Club.
It's everywhere. It's like we can't get away from it. It's how we understand fame and artistry and death, when it happens too young. And things it's not a real club, like with members and stuff. There's no official list. But over the years, journalists, they've made lists of people who are usually considered part of the 27 Club.
And it's interesting who ends up on those lists, right? Some of them, like Robert Johnson, he was a blues musician, died in 1938, like way before the 27 Club was even a thing.
Yeah, it's like we're going back and adding people to the story.
Yeah, it's weird. At first, it was mostly musicians, like rock musicians. But then, as the idea got bigger, it started including actors and artists and even athletes, anyone who died at 27.
Yeah, it's not just music anymore.
We're talking about Jonathan Brandis, the actor, and Anton Yelchin, who was also an actor, and even Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's most famous for his paintings, but, he also made music.
Right.
So the whole idea goes way beyond music now.
It does. To give you an idea of the range of people, you have Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. He drowned.
Yeah.
And then you have Jimi Hendrix, the amazing guitarist. He died from drugs, from asphyxia.
Mm.
And then there's Janis Joplin. She also died from a drug overdose.
Yeah.
And then there's Jim Morrison from The Doors. His cause of death is kind of, still debated, but a lot of people say heart failure. And then there's Kurt Cobain from Nirvana. His suicide was a big part of why the 27 Club is, so well known today. And then more recently, there's Amy Winehouse. She was so talented, but she died from alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
And even more recently, Chance Perdomo, the actor, he died in a motorcycle accident. So it's a really diverse group of people, all linked by this one thing, by their age when they died.
Yeah, so much talent lost so young.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the 27 Club, I mean, what are the main takeaways?
I think the biggest thing to understand is that the 27 Club it's more of a cultural myth than a real thing, statistically speaking. Those early deaths, they were so public, so well known.
Yeah.
And the media and our own storytelling have just kept it appealing. It's the story that's powerful more than any real pattern in the numbers.
Right, because the studies, they haven't found any proof that musicians are more likely to die at 27, even though they do have, a higher chance of dying young overall.
Exactly. And even though the idea of cursed age, or a higher risk at 27, that's been debunked. But the 27 Club effect, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
It shows how powerful these cultural stories can be, how they shape how we see and remember things, especially when it comes to celebrity deaths. It makes those who died at 27, it makes them stand out.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it? What is it about 27?
Yeah.
About these people, these artists, they're so talented, but often they struggled.
Wow.
Why are we so fascinated by them?
Mm.
Why do we romanticize these sad endings?
It's interesting.
Is it because we're scared of getting old or scared of fame or just scared of death itself? Or is there something else going on? It's a question worth thinking about.